Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast, the liberal zombie apocalypse of Minneapolis, St. Paul, far from Sherburn County, which is red country, although you wouldn't know it from the county prosecutor. Joining me today is Walker Anderson, somebody we've talked about on the show. This is the first time we've actually met. I think, Walker, we had 1 minute to actually get to know each other before we went live. So we haven't been able to cover any of the material yet. I just want to get right into it. Tell us who you are, your story leading up to when you became a target of a case against you.
Well, this all started when I was 20, so I'm 24 now. This is 3.5 years ago. I built a couple of firearms. I built a 20-inch AR-10 308 and a 7.5-inch AR-15 pistol. A buddy of mine had just got back from his 6 weeks up at Ripley, and I wanted to show off some guns I made, so him and I were out doing some shooting out on his family's farm, and there was a complaint made by a neighbor that we were shooting. A couple of deputies showed up, did an investigation to see if there's any negligence or anything going on. During the investigation, they found there was no negligence, and then they decided they wanted to look at our firearms. They had asked me if my firearms are registered to me, and that's when I informed them that there was no registration because I built them. From then, I was then read in my Miranda rights. I was interrogated. I was about to be arrested. They chose not to arrest me that day. They took my property, and they let me walk. And for 6 months, every week, I'd call the county. I'd say, hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? They'd say, there's nothing. And then I called them one day. I said, hey, this is my name, this is what the deal is. And they said, okay, yep, we have something. I go, great, what is it? And they laughed at me and said, well, if you don't have a lawyer, I can't tell you. We can tell your lawyer. So then I got home, and when I got home, I checked the mail, and there was 2 letters from ambulance chasers saying, you've been charged with 2 felonies for weapons possession. So they sold my information to somebody, and they won't even tell it to me. So that's how I found out I was getting charged.
Oh my God. Okay. Now I've had your mom on the show first time 2 years ago, then just recently because of the Supreme Court case. So I want to go back to, I mean, that was even more than I think she had covered at the time. Just your state of mind here. You're not doing anything but shooting firearms with a buddy. You're not hurting anyone. You're not destroying property. You're just doing what any red-blooded American boy would be doing. Is that correct? I mean, there's no.
Yeah, he was up at Ripley for 6 weeks. His job for those 6 weeks was range safety. That's what he did for 6 weeks, was making sure the range was safe. So I'm like, all right, perfect. Let's go do some shooting, and yeah, that's how it all started.
All right. Describe this sheriff deputy, because I don't think people understand this. If you're not from Minnesota, we're not that liberal in Minnesota. It's just Ramsey and Hennepin County, essentially.
Yeah, you got all red, then there's 3 little bubbles.
Right, yeah. Sherburn County is a very solid red district. It actually was won by Trump by 35 points last November. Okay, so we're not talking about like Hennepin County, which is like an 80-20 Democrat district with a prosecutor that hates guns and hates anyone that loves America, essentially. You would just imagine the sheriff's department's very much like-minded. You would imagine the prosecutor's very like-minded. Like, did you get any sense that the sheriff deputy was out there to like wreck your life? Like, how does that even about? Like, you would imagine this is like a guy that would think like you, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were thinking. So yeah, he goes and does a function test on it, and that's when he read me my Miranda rights, and that's when he started questioning me about it. And I thought everything was fine.
He Mirandized you first and then started questioning you about it?
Yep. So yeah, that was, and he was reaching for his hand.
You probably had no inkling to just stop talking to him at that point, right?
Yeah, no, I thought he liked him, and he was just trying to figure out where I got him from or something. I don't know.
That right there sounds that's just tricky. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So
I mean, now that we're going to eventually get to this, I mean, your case has now been dismissed following a big Supreme Court hearing, but like, do you feel like you kind of have the trap set for you there, and like what would be his motive here?
Well, that I don't know. I thought maybe he was just gonna take him and keep him for himself or something silly, but no, it was it. I don't know if it felt targeted, but it seemed because there was a handful of these other cases, and it seems like whenever they get picked up by a prosecutor, that they're trying to make a name for themselves, or there's been the last handful of sessions the Democrats have tried pushing legislation to make these illegal, and it's gotten blocked every time. So they took an outdated, misinterpreted statute and they figured they could try to make case law and get a law passed without having a vote. And that's kind of what it felt like. And I mean, they saw a 20-year-old kid who probably would just take a plea deal and they can get it passed, but I'm too damn stubborn, and that's why it took 3.5 years.
Right, right. Okay, do you mind just turning down your volume on my end here real quick because I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I see some of the people in the comments. I appreciate that. And if you guys do have any questions for Walker, I'll try to read them. Especially if you want to get a comment in for sure, hit that Rumble rant. If you just hit the volume on your side, Walker, just so
Bring her down.
yeah, we just bring it down. We get a little bit of feedback on it. There you go. It's much better.
How's that?
Yeah, as much as I love hearing my own voice, it doesn't go over the show. All right, so yeah, I was very puzzled when your mom brought this up. Like, this just seems so bizarre. It does seem like they want to make a case out of you. From the time where your guns were confiscated, you're Mirandized, until where you find out that you're actually being formally charged. What was the timeline here? Was this a year? What was it?
I want to say it was almost 6 months. Like it was it was ridiculous. I think it was 3, 4 months before we actually got notified, and then it was another 2 months before I had my bail hearing because they never actually arrested me. So we
Right.
show up for my bail hearing 6 months later. They tried setting bail at like 15 grand or something, and the judge kind of just looked at the prosecutor, and she was like, "Well, he was wandering around for 6 months, didn't get in trouble, and showed up the representation, so she released me without bail and no restrictions, which was nice." But yeah.
County Attorney Kathleen Haney, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. That was a question from Terry Time. I know we have people in our audience that are from Sherburn County. In fact, I think many of you guys probably donate to Legal Defense Fund, which can't think of a better use of our money to make sure that we stop this ridiculous prosecution. So, like, what was going through your mind 6 months later after this incident,
Well,
thinking that you're being charged with something that literally could put you in jail, and there's no victim here?
yeah, no, it was. I talked to my lawyer prior, and he said, "Well, wait to put me on retainer until you're formally charged." He goes, "There's a good chance this won't make it past the sheriff's office when they double check it, and they probably won't make it past the prosecution." So, and he was just as shocked as I was when I finally called him and said, "Hey," and he goes, "All right, it's time to go." But yeah, I figured it was just kind of gonna just hang over there and disappear one day, or I was just gonna get a phone call saying, "Hey, there was a mistake." But no, they pressed forward.
That is so crazy. Who was your attorney here?
Blair Nelson out of Bemidji.
Gotcha. Oh, out of Bemidji, good place. um, so had you had any criminal record up to this point? Like any trouble with the law? I mean,
I have
that's
a lead foot. I
yeah,
like my tickets, but no, I tend to stay out of trouble.
yeah. I mean, we all have lead feet at that age. I argue the most dangerous person is a 18-year-old boy. I guess he's 20 at that time, but yeah, we were given those vehicles and we like to go fast, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, so, by the way, you're a Ford mechanic, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay, I got a lot of questions on that. No, good. um, so like, what does that feel like to you when you're like, I might be in jail? Like, did you actually think that's what was going to happen? I know at some point your attorney probably said, if you were found guilty, which you probably won't, like, you're probably not going to face jail time. But at some point, you must have thought, like, holy cow, that literally is what I might be facing.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was each statute was a fine of $10,000 and/or 5 years in prison. So, like at the worst, I could be looking at 10 years or 20 grand, and that kept me awake at night for months. Once I finally got charged, I mean, there was no sleeping. It was hard to eat. I couldn't concentrate. It was just constantly there. And then it got to the point. It became normal. Like that was just my life. These interviews that my mom would do, constantly hearing about it, waiting for appearances, showing up and realizing we're not going anywhere with it, or we're getting geared up for trial, or judges have changed. It was just constant chaos for 3 years.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, it's like so the crime that you're being charged with, I can't remember the statute off the top of my head. Maybe you know it by heart. Do you know it by heart?
Minnesota 609667, the removal and alteration of serial numbers.
Okay, and basically there's 3 parts to that statute. The first 2 don't even apply to you. It's essentially the third one that it has to have some arbitrary serial number. And from my understanding, if I go back to the time I interviewed your mom, you had called the ATF in Minnesota and asked if this was against the federal law. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I talked to the ATF, and I'd also, because I was kind of buddy with the liaison officer that we had in high school, who was a deputy for Sherburn County, and I had talked to him a little bit about it too, because I was like, hey, I like guns. I go, what's the deal with these things? I've kind of heard about them. I go, what do you got to do? Is there any paperwork and stuff? He goes, no, you're good to go. So then there was kind of like that. Like I'm like, I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to deal with this, so I tried to do my due diligence, and guess it didn't work.
Wait, so is this person still, when you asked that question, was he still working with Sherburn County?
Yep.
Wow. I mean, you did your due diligence as law enforcement, and you were led to believe you weren't. I mean, first of all, you weren't committing any crime, which luckily their Supreme Court has determined that at this point. But yeah, it's like federal law doesn't have any issue with these firearms, right? I think if I remember right, like the National Firearms Act.
Yeah, the GCA and the NFA.
Yeah, it's like really specific to like certain kind of firearms. This is not one of them.
Nope.
Right. Okay. You probably got. You could probably give lectures in law schools now about this matter of law. Were you even political before this at all?
Yeah, that could be part of the target. Also, I wasn't very quiet about it, but
in like social media, or were you actually like in
I was.
politics?
I mean, my parents grew up when I was growing up. They were both delegates, so like our county sheriff, I helped them campaign when I was a kid and like parades with them. And Representative Mecklin, that has been by my side throughout this the entire time, that I've been grown very close with and was close with prior. I've known all these guys since I was a kid.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so after this happened, I called our sheriff because I had his cell phone number. I'm like, hey, what is going on? Because I figured, all right, maybe this is just a new deputy from he just doesn't get it, whatever. I'm like, hey, rein in your deputies. What's going on here? And he goes, well, the law is the law. And I told him 3.5 years ago, I said, I know my rights. I will win. And I can promise you that. And here we are now. I guess I was right. But no, he's on paper, he's very, very pro-gun. And that was the hard part, because I've known this guy for years. And every few months, there'd be some anti-gun bill that would hit the House floor, and he'd send out a message to the county saying, I'm going to protect your gun rights. I'm going to fight. We're going to make Sherburn County a sanctuary gun county. And then just kind of forget about the stuff happening in his backyard.
I mean, like a huge thing, like literally gun rights to the core. Because what I was thinking about is they not only are prosecuting you for some arbitrary number on a firearm, and I guess the reason behind it is those evil ghost guns that you built, which goes into the whole keep and bear arms part, right? But they actually stole your firearms, an AR-10 platform and a pistol 15. So it's like they literally stole these. They confiscated firearms from you.
Yeah.
This is 2A to the core. That's actually one of the reasons we got so interested in the story. Okay, so you had covered this incident happened when you were 20. You're 24 now. 6 months later, you find out you're being formally charged. You go through maybe some sleepless nights and trouble eating, knowing that this could go to a trial and you could be convicted and possibly do jail time. Your attorney is on the case finally, which is great. And you have a pretty good opinion of this guy, right? Brian Nelson?
Blair Nelson.
Blair Nelson Bemidji. Cool. It's always good to know the good ones, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So eventually, at some point, from my understanding, is the prosecution stops because there is a case, the Vagel case, that was on appeal to the Supreme Court, and they didn't want to weigh in or even take your case to trial, which was what the direction it was heading in until that was decided. Do I have that correct?
Yep. So the Vagel case that was dismissed at the county level, and then Ellison brought him to the appeals. So then they brought it to the Supreme Court to appeals to the appellate court. And because one of his motions to dismiss was one of my three, we said, well, let's let the Superior Court, let's let the Supreme Court, well, they'll figure it out and we'll go from there. So they had their oral arguments June 5th of last year. So it's been over a year before we got this decision.
Okay.
I think we've had like three hearings on the books. And then we'll kind of just like a couple weeks before the hearing, just message back and forth with the prosecutor and say, nope, nothing yet. Okay, we'll reschedule. We'll kick it down the road. So we beat the shit out of that pop can for a while.
Okay, so they wanted you to plea. So obviously, what was the plea deal? Because the idea that you guys weren't willing to plea means that you were even in this boat. So what would you have pled to? Like if you took their deal, I guess, so to speak, the best deal they gave you.
There was a few plea deals they offered. They wanted me to plead guilty to a criminal destruction of property and say that I shot someone's house. They wanted me to plead to the felony possession and then charge it as a misdemeanor and just make me do like overnights and community service and pay a fine. And they threw a few of them back and forth, but at this point there were so many people that have kind of got behind me that I felt that I had to keep going. And what I kept remembering was, well, if I take it now and walk away from it easier, then what's going to happen to the next person that doesn't have the support or can't do it? So I felt obligated to keep fighting because I wanted to help out the next guy.
Wow, good for you. Holy shit. This is awesome because this is the first time we've actually chatted other than just, maybe on Facebook posts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
By the way, it just amuses me so much how much you and your brother give your mom crap about Trump. It's the big demographic divide, age and gender that makes women are becoming more Democrat and young men are definitely becoming conservative, which obviously I tease her about, like, why does this make you like the biggest conservative ever? And she did admit on the show that she shot an AR-15 finally, so that's pretty good. We'll make her a big gun gal then. Yeah, it's so crazy to me to think about like what you were facing, and to have these off ramps, which maybe some people could look at those as a smart move, right? Just facing what you were facing. But you decided to move on and fight anyhow. And I was going to ask this question, but like, I'm certain a lot of people in my audience donated and probably encouraged support. I saw became pretty big. You said Representative Shane Mecklin was supportive. I've seen Alpha News has done a report on this thing. Explain to me like how that outpouring support inside the 2A and the like conservative movement, what that meant to you and how much courage that gave you.
Well, that really kept me going because I mean between Representative Mecklin and Senator Matthews and the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, they were huge the entire time. They picked up and helped me right away, and then between just kind of connections that I made between everybody, it started getting national attention. There was media outlets in Arizona, Colorado. They were everywhere doing stories, and it seemed anytime I typed my name in on Google, it was a new story that was about me. So it really felt that I felt that I had to keep doing it, and I felt the support, and I knew that people had my back if it got nasty.
Good. Any people that were on the hater side, like gun control advocates saying throw him in prison, anything like that?
I think they probably saw interviews with my mom first and knew better because she could take the gloves off and battle back if she wanted to. So I think they kept their distance, but I didn't see anything.
Okay. So the Vagel case gets argued June of last year. You're on hold until that gets decided, which wasn't until, what was that, last Wednesday?
Yep.
Wednesday. Okay, yeah. So what was life like in that year?
Just hurry up and wait. I mean, because the Supreme Court issues their opinions every Wednesday at 10 a.m. So it became tradition, sitting there just going crazy on the refresh button at work. And nothing. All right, we'll check next week. And then finally, like I was in the truck on my way up to Leaf Fest this year, so I didn't even check it. I didn't realize what time it was, and all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up. Like the Vagel case, they finally ruled, and it was in our favor. So I just started jumping up and down, freaking out. My buddies are like, "What happened?" I go, "We're gonna win." So we were in line pulling into the campsite when that happened. I'm like, "Oh no, this is the perfect time for this to happen. Let the party begin. We're gonna celebrate."
So I got a question for Terry. Time says, did Mecklin and Matthews speak to the sheriff, judge, or the prosecutor? I guess judge would be inappropriate, but
Nope. They didn't speak directly. They just would speak outwardly and show support to me, or they'd talk to me about whatever. But no, they made no contact with any of the prosecution, or the judges, or the sheriff. They made sure of that.
gotcha.
As elected officials, they're unable to use their political power to sway one way or the other. So we made sure that we steered far away from that.
I'll leave that there. We saw a lot of politicians do nothing during COVID, which really pissed me off to see. The Secretary of Health in Minnesota, Commissioner of Health and Attorney General get away with all stuff without any pushback from politicians. And anytime they did, it was like so pathetic. That's actually why I like you saying that. Like you decided to fight on because that's what we need. We need people like you. I mean, God, I don't know. Have you ever thought about running for office in the future? I mean, that's the kind of courage we need in office.
Toss it around.
What's that?
I'll toss it around. We'll see what happens.
Like,
I keep telling Shane, I'm like, you need to go off to Congress. Give me your seat. I like this area.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't mind you replacing the guy that's currently in charge. Currently, you're a congressman. Seems like he gets too excited about the global establishment. So this Vagel case comes down. Did you think that like this left-wing Supreme Court? I mean, you're obviously somewhat attuned to politics, so like they are all Mark Dayton and Tim Walz appointees. They are not Republicans.
I went back and forth on it because there was a couple other gun cases that they had ruled in our favor recently. So I was like, maybe, and because it took over a year, and this was prior to that seventh justice getting sworn in. Oral arguments were done when there were still six justices. So we were thinking, okay, maybe it's just a 3-3 tie, and that's why we haven't heard of anything. But it came out 4-2, and it was a very exciting phone call when I heard about that.
Gotcha.
Okay. It seems like they're. It seems, yes, they're liberal, but it seems that they're able to look at the law without having a bias, which is very nice to see. They're setting that aside when it comes to some recent gun issues that we've seen at the Supreme Court.
How do you feel when you see that at least 2 people dissented and thought that should be a crime punishable by time in prison?
Was not very happy with it, but at this point I was used to it when it came to being in a courtroom because I had a prosecuting attorney trying to tell me that it was too the whole time, so I can understand why somebody would think it was, but I don't fully understand how the Second Amendment doesn't just kind of trump that. You just put it there, and I don't know why it ever made it this far. They're trying to find case law and precedent setting, and it's like, okay, well, what about this one right here that just says shall not be infringed? That seems like a broad infringement right there. But
well, I mean, it's like the strongest language in the Bill of Rights. It's like shall not be infringed. Like you cannot touch it. You can't do that, right?
Yeah.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And it's like, well, I kind of hear that infringy kind of language, but technically we could do that.
There's a comma.
Yeah, there's a comma. Like, no. And in fact, it's not about hunting. It is not about just shooting like on a range or, at someone's residence. It's about a tyrannical government, which is why they cannot infringe on your right to keep and bear arms. And it's also the reason they want to infringe on your right to keep and bear arms. I mean, America's experiment, and I know it's like 180 from the founding fathers, but it's like, it wouldn't even have lasted to this degree with the freedoms we enjoy in the United States, which is far superior to most countries. if we didn't have a Second Amendment. I'm convinced of it. Like, that is what keeps the government in check. And also, from all the gun grabbers, it's like the statistics on our side, they are clearly on our side. They are failing so tremendously because it just, whatever they purport to be factual is just not born in any kind of statistics, right?
Well, look at the statistics from New York or Chicago. Look what happens when you take guns away.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, honestly, concealed carry, which they were once against, and now all these states are not even concealed carry; they're constitutional carry. But the evidence isn't that the states that are constitutional carry or even concealed carry are seeing spikes in crimes. But the areas like you allude to that are spikes in crime are gun-free zones. It's just so overwhelmingly obvious
Every time.
every single time. One that I didn't think was going to be a gun control error, though, was Sherburn County. That for sure I did not see happening. All right, so you get the good news. I mean, yes, the Supreme Court rules on Wednesday. Great news, but technically, and I was like, oh, I want to interview Walker. I know you were at WeFest, but I was like, I want to interview Walker because we didn't want to screw up the case, as it was going on. Obviously, you were being smart about that. But it was still technically being prosecuted in Sherburn County until you got news yesterday. So what happened yesterday?
Well, my lawyer, instead of calling me, just sent me an email knowing I wasn't going to check his email. So I think they did that on purpose. I think him and my mom kind of talked about it prior. They're like, all right, let's see how long it takes him to figure this out. But no, then my mom sent me the screenshot of it. I started jumping around. I got a bunch of people here at work that have been along the case the entire time. So I just kind of walked around, showed everybody like, hey, look at this, signed and dated. I'm free. So yeah, there was very little to no our productivity done the rest of the day, unfortunately. But
Damn it, that's why my truck didn't get finished yesterday. No, I'm kidding. All right. So explain. I mean, just the motions going through you, like what it's like to see that happen.
I don't even know if I really have taken it in yet. It still doesn't feel real. Like I said, it's just that's how life has been. I don't exactly remember what life was like prior to not worrying about it.
Right.
It's still, I could still I could wake up tomorrow morning in a field and up in Detroit Lakes after the bender got too carried away, and this is all just a dream. Like that, it does not feel real. But yeah, no, I'll sit there and think about it, like, wow, it's actually finally over. And the hard part too was for the last 3 years, anytime we thought we were done or we had something that we thought was solid, they would come back and dismiss it, throw it out. Or we even had the prosecutor when we thought we had something to get them done because we initially had that Vagel case before it got appealed. We had brought that to her and was like, hey, no, this got appealed. And she's like, no, that was a pistol. It doesn't count. You had rifles. I'm like, well, one of them was a rifle, one of them was a pistol because I had the one back. But no, she's like, no, it doesn't count. And she even, I think in email, she's like, well, if it would have gotten dismissed, I would have recharged him with having a unregistered SBR because she argued and tried to say that my pistol was an SBR when she thought she was going to lose for them being unserialized. So it was just one thing after another. So even now it was like, all right, is this actually going to drop? Are they going to try to grab something else? Are they going to try to keep it going? But it's signed and dated.
I've spoke about this before in the show. Did you follow the Kyle Rittenhouse trial at all?
Not as closely as I should have, but yeah, I followed it.
Okay, so one of the most fascinating parts about that trial, which was really interesting, in many regards, like he did us a service by getting rid of what was a guy, a pedophile? I think he was a pedophile, definitely in and out of jail, sexual assault, but that was on minors. But like one of the most interesting things in the case is as they're wrapping things up, the defense wanted to get rid of the charge of illegal possession of a firearm. And the judge asked the prosecutor, do you dispute that the firearm, which they are in possession of, as you know, they take possession of, do you dispute that this firearm, the barrel is less than 16 inches? He literally asked that. And they say, no, we don't dispute that, Your Honor. Then he goes, then I throw out that charge. And I'm going, wait a second. The prosecutor knows the firearm is legal, and they are still charging him with it. I'm like, wait a second. That's a false charge. Like, how is the prosecutor not going to jail being charged with like false prosecution when they know that the facts don't support the charge? It seems like that's the case here. Like they're just, oh well, if they decide here, like we're just going to arbitrarily make up our own decision on this to still go and get you.
Yeah, and that's how they're trying to force gun control now too. Is if you find someone, you go give them a charge, and we're not going to break the law. You take away our gun rights, we're not going to go get more. We're not going to be criminals. So you go take it away, and then that's one less person that has a gun. It's probably the people that know how to use them the best too that they're afraid of. That's back the whole reason we have the Second Amendment, right? So it's one person at a time. You pick them off, give them a plea deal, and then all of a sudden their gun rights are gone. That was the big thing with my plea that they offered me, because it's we'll charge it out as a misdemeanor, but I'd still have a felony on my record and won't be able to buy any more.
Right.
I'm not doing that. I'm not giving up my rights. They're rights for a reason.
Well, and that's what I thought was so interesting about your case. It's like, well, who the hell's Walker Anderson and where the hell's Sherburn County? Like, why do I need to care about this? It's like, well, you should care very much because, it's one thing to be prosecuted by Mary Moriarty in Hennepin County. It's another thing in a red district with just a red-blooded American patriot who's got no criminal record, like you and me, who are gun owners, being prosecuted for something so obscure, so ridiculous with no victim. It's like, who's to say you're not the next person? And so I applaud you so much for taking that fight on. I had no idea about that element that, your main reason of not taking the plea deal is that you needed to be the one that stood up for the rest of us. And for that, I thank you, because you're right. That's what they're going to do. That's their backhanded way to confiscate our firearms, to tear away our Second Amendment, is by these false prosecutions.
They're just going to keep trying, but as long as we keep fighting, we'll win.
Right.
If you give them they'll take a mile, and that's what they're going to keep doing, just one plea deal after another. You'll back somebody into a corner, you'll give them a nice shiny plea deal, they'll take it, and then the next guy that it happens to, it's like, all right, well, this is case law, it already happened, you're done.
Right.
And then just like that, our rights are slowly chipped away at until we stand up and say, no more.
And then we have to go appeal to justices at the Supreme Court, which, as you know, that doesn't happen overnight. And you have the chance that a Supreme Court doesn't have justices that actually care about freedom, which is, that's why I call them robed gangsters. It's not necessarily like people, they're actually like agents of the state. They're not really agents of freedom and liberty. Well, I wish I was a judge, because I could really, if I had a bias, it's a bias towards liberty. That's what I want my judges thinking, a bias towards liberty. I know I'm going to be respectful of your time. Where does life go from here? I mean, what's, now that this is in the past, what do you?
Gotta go buy more guns. I haven't been able to buy a gun in 3.5 years. That's the big one. I can't wait to do that. I'm gonna go try, see if I can pass a background check on Saturday. We'll run up to Fleet Farm or something, just buy the cheapest 22 just to say I did it again. I've been going back and forth with the county, talking to their evidence lady there, and they're making me go out and get a purchase permit or a carry permit before they'll give me my guns back. So I got to go wait for that paperwork to get filed. And
do you have your training done?
Well, like I said, so this happened when I was 20. So I never got my carry permit, and my purchase permit's expired since then. So now I got to go to Becker Township or Becker City Hall and run in there, fill out the paperwork, and sit there and check the mailbox every day, and hopefully it shows up and I can go pick up my stuff. And then after the gun range.
Well, here's the deal. If you need training, I am a USCCA certified instructor, so I will give you a free class. Actually, it'd be fun to shoot with you. Maybe I'll come out there and shoot with your mom too. We'll give her a free one too.
Yeah, scare her a little bit.
Yeah.
Give her that 7.5 inch one. The fireball is massive, so that'll scare her. That'll be fun.
Well, yeah. If we could make it work, I'll just give you a free course so you can get your certified course. I believe you should have a constitutional right to do it, but that's also nice. The nice thing about Minnesota is that carry permit also is good for 5 years, and that speeds up your process of buying a firearm. So there you go. You can get that done real simple. We'll find a virtual way for that to happen for you. We just have to find time to shoot together so we can qualify you. But let's get you back in there and have some guns to your name. I think that's the right thing.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. I really appreciate it. I think this is a great story, and It's a success story. Shockingly, the Minnesota Supreme Court, which had a terrible ruling a year ago in self-defense in the state of Minnesota, had some common sense here, even though two people dissented. They did have common sense, and now I shouldn't say that now you're a free man. Technically, you were always free. It's just that you had kind of that big thing over your shoulders, and that really sucks. And I'm glad that there's a happy story here to tell the rest of the people. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Well, Walker, thank you so much, and we'll keep in touch.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Well, I would love to tell you about our sponsors today, John Galt Mortgage Company. If you're looking to buy a home, you need to probably finance at home unless you got a bunch of cash. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com, or you can check them out on Facebook or X, which they got a top-notch meme game. People that think just like you and me. We're also brought to you by Alpine Country in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And brought to you by EliteGuardianMN.com, which we do permit to carry classes in Minnesota. It's a prepper company. We're building some modules for some trainings. You learn how you can prepare for bad times ahead. Maybe I should have Walker come down the city, so then we'll have a celebrity in the class, right? But if you're looking to get your carry permit here in Minnesota, you can go to EliteGuardianMN.com. All right. I want to go to our post show here. For those that aren't subscribers, I'm going to post the link right now because I got something that I want to have a conversation with our closest supporters. Not ready for prime time. So if you want to be premium insider, just post this link. There you go. I got a link there. Many of you guys you get a free Locals account, and you can watch this on Locals. You can sign up. You don't even have to be watching live. You can watch after the fact. Want to throw something at you, a post and an interaction that I thought was very interesting, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. We'll be back hopefully again on Thursday. Mega Jesse was too busy. The Action for Liberty State Fair is coming up. I'm going to have Eric Mortensen on here to talk about the state fair. It's going to be a booming success. Everyone's going to love it except for Tim Walls. He's not going to enjoy that state fair booth. I'll put it that way. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back again on Thursday live at 1:00. I hope I didn't miss any comments here. I don't think so. So we're going to go live to our post show. For everyone else, we'll see you back here on, back on Thursday. Take care.